Colombo stock market. 2010-2011 was a very bad period for the Colombo stock market. Pump and dump was the order of the day. What did the stock market do to arrest the situation? What did they do to move forward? 2014, Sri Lanka was adjudged as one of the most wonderful, most amazing places to invest through the Colombo stock market. Asia, it was named as one of the leaders as far as stock markets are concerned. But what is happening right now? Is the stock market in an upward trajectory, or is it trying to pull their feet to the finishing line? What is the future? Can you at home invest in the Colombo stock market with confidence? To discuss all this and more, I have the Chief Executive Officer of the Colombo Stock Exchange. He is none other than Rajiv Naik. A very good evening and welcome to Biz First in Focus. Nice to have you on board, Rajiv.
Good evening.
Good evening. Starting off, Rajiv, tell us, you've been with the stock market for 2 decades, 20 years. You've seen the ups and downs. 2016, what is your take on the Colombo stock market?
This year we have seen the market after a fairly lull period, probably for the last 1.5 years. The market since about July has started turning into positive territory. Of course, so far year to date there is still a negative return of about 4%, but since about early July we have seen an increase in the indices of about 6.5%, where it has moved from 6,200 points to about 6,600 today, and it's a sustained kind of rise in the prices and volume. So we have seen the market finally, I think, turning for the first time this year.
Rajiv, you said that there is some sort of positivity since July this year. What does it really mean to an ordinary investor who's investing in the Colombo stock market?
Yeah, now for markets to sustain, for markets to thrive, for markets to be active, you need investor participation. And generally investor participation does not only come from individuals. You need foreign investors, you need institutional investors to really strengthen the market and activate the market. So in the last few weeks, particularly in the last few weeks, we have seen foreign investors coming back and returning into Sri Lanka, into the market, and that's a positive sign because they add the volume and the strength to the activity in the market. So we have seen the net foreign outflows, which was in the region of about 5 billion up to July, has now reduced to about 3 billion as a result. So we've seen some net foreign inflows in the last 2 weeks or so, which is a positive sign.
What are the reasons behind the resurgence of foreign buying?
I think there is greater confidence in the economy, greater confidence in the government, greater confidence in the country, and as a result we have seen more foreigners now starting to look at Sri Lanka again.
Rajiv, flipping the coin, you say that 1.5 years the market was in a lull. There was somewhat a very low profit margin for the Colombo stock market as well, because you said the indices were down by 4% and things were not doing that great. What was the reasons for the performance to be down over the recent months?
I think for any stock market there are various factors that would impact on the performance of a market. There are political factors, there are economic factors. In Sri Lanka we went through a change of government, so it's to be expected that in the transition there will be, markets will take a sort of wait and see attitude, and we typically saw that happening. And I think to add to our woes, there are economic reasons too. In Sri Lanka, where we had high debt, we had a budget deficit, we also had interest rates moving up. So all those factors, and we also had the currency depreciation, so all those factors also impacted negatively in the market, and as a result we saw somewhat of a lull in the market in the last, say, 1 to 1.5 years.
Roger, when I spoke to many individuals, business tycoons on the same show, saying what is the reasons for Sri Lankan economy not to take an upward trajectory, many of them said that there is inconsistent policy within the present regime. Do you believe that inconsistent policy has contributed to the decrease in the investments in the Colombo stock market?
Well, consistent policies will always help for a stable market. But I think overriding reasons for the market to be in a lull, I think, are more economic reasons, such as high interest rates. Generally, when you have environment where there are high interest rates, it will have a direct impact on the performance of the market. So I think economic factors may even outweigh, but certainly consistent policy is a given and is a very necessary prerequisite for any kind of investor to invest in, particularly in stock markets, because investing in the market means you're investing for the future, you're investing for the future growth of companies.
Roger, when we started off this show, I said that you've been attached to the Colombo stock market for 20 long years. What was the worst period?
We've been through lot of phases, ups and downs in like in any other market, and we have seen lean periods, we have seen good periods, we have seen strong periods, we have seen a lot of development in certain periods. So
what was the worst period?
I don't know whether I can pick a period, but I think post-war, we had this euphoria of the market suddenly almost sort of moving through a phase where we had 30 years of a protected civil war, and then coming out of it there was this buoyancy, and then a bubble was almost created as a result of the post-war period and all of the euphoria that was surrounding it. So I think in 2009, 2010 we had a very steep rise, and
an artificial rise.
Because of I think it's the euphoria that was created initially as a result of the post-war period, and then during that period I think nobody really was ready for this. Not the regulator, not the stock exchange, not the investors. They had never experienced something like this before. Not the broking community. I think everybody was unprepared for that type of activity and volume that we saw during that period.
So you're saying in other words, someone was trying to manipulate the Sri Lankan market, capital market.
Not that someone was intentionally done, but I think in the process of this euphoric condition that existed in the market, and where everybody jumped into the market, and it created a bubble.
It was an artificial bubble, as I said before.
It was
created by maybe several individuals in the market.
Yeah, a lot of people actually, when a euphoria gets into the market, when there's so much of excitement and activity, I think some get in without really not really knowing what the market is about. They all think it's a one-way street, and some may have intentionally, even artificially, attempted to manipulate it to get to profit by it. So a lot of things happened during that period, and during the crash it was very painful. People may have lost money as well because it was artificially, and the
millions of money, people lost millions of money by investing in the Colombo stock market.
Yeah, so this is probably a lesson that we have learned as a market and as a country, and if you look around the world, there have been lots of other examples like that. For example, very recently in China the market crashed by 40%. A similar scenario where there again there was a situation where I think the market crashed as much as 40%, and a lot of people lost money. So we also have gone through a very hard and a painful learning experience in the past as a result of the downturn.
But at the cost of public money, Rajiv, this is what we're talking about. The Prime Minister just a year ago mentioned several names in Parliament, individuals like Dilip Jayabira, Nimal Pereira, saying that these individuals have been manipulating the stock market. What is the responsibility of the Colombo stock market when it comes to individuals like this? Have you all reported their names to the regulator?
Well, as a market operator, we operate the market to provide a trading system for investors to buy and sell shares, and there are also a responsibility to ensure a fair and orderly market. So there are a set of rules that govern the conduct of brokers, of investors, of listed companies, etc. So in instances where these rules are broken, what we do as an exchange is, on one hand, report these irregularities and any market offences which are under the SEC Act to the Securities and Exchange Commission, who have the powers to investigate and prosecute.
And you all did this during 2010 and 2011 as well?
Any offences have been reported to the regulator. All
and what is
action
being taken?
I think the Securities and Exchange Commission is in the process of of filing action, of prosecuting any of those who are involved in any market
Rajiv,
offences.
on the 8th of January, the new government came into power saying that change will be created. On the 17th of August last year, a new Prime Minister was elected with change being promised to the people. It's nearly 1 year and several weeks now since that day, but no action has been taken. But my question is very simple. Why does it take such a long time to prosecute individuals under the laws that governs the SEC as well as the Colombo stock market?
I think I can't answer for the SEC, but certainly I think they are doing whatever they can to prosecute. But you must also remember the legal framework. Now, for example, under the SEC Act, there is only criminal sanctions that are available for them to prosecute and take action against any offences. We are talking about three main offences: market manipulation, insider trading, and front running, which are three market offences. Now, they need to go to a magistrate's court and prove that case, and it's a criminal case where the burden of proof is fairly high. Now, I think the SEC is now completely redoing or revamping the SEC Act to even include civil sanctions, so that they can go to a commercial high court for relief for such offences, which will probably make the process faster and more efficient. So these are some of the changes in laws that also need to come.
You talk about market manipulation, front running and insider trading, Rajiv. Why can't the magistrate give a verdict or prosecute individuals if the Attorney General's Department files cases? Do you think that we don't have the technical know-how, the legal expertise to move forward from that particular point? What is the reason behind this?
I really cannot answer that question. I'm sure magistrate court is competent because the law has provided for the prosecutions to be taken to a court of law, and in the past, if you see, there have been prosecutions in the magistrates courts. The SEC has taken action against certain individuals, and those prosecutions have taken place. But I think we can make the law more effective, as what they are proposing now, to also build in civil sanctions into the law, and that's what they're hoping to do through the new SEC Act amendments, which will enable them to take civil action against any market offences as well.
Has the Securities and Exchange Commission consulted the Colombo Stock Exchange when drafting these laws in question?
Yes. In fact, the SEC Act has gone it for public consultation some time back, and views of the market has been obtained, views of the public have been obtained, and the first draft has also been already been completed.
Talking about investor confidence, the Colombo Stock Exchange has a very big role to play right now, Rajiv. We know things have changed drastically over the last few years in terms of politically, economically, and the way forward for a country like Sri Lanka. What is the role of the Colombo Stock Exchange to build this investor confidence and attract foreign buying?
I think it's about ensuring a fair and orderly market. To that extent, for example, do we have proper corporate governance practices, rules embodied in listed companies? Investors buy shares in such companies. Are the disclosures timely? Are timely disclosures made to the market? So, we attempt to ensure that investors are provided with timely information to make investment decisions on one hand.
So it also depends on how fast the code of law takes actions against individuals who have already been pointed the fingers at.
If somebody has committed an offense, it's up to the authority, the regulator, to take action. That's fine.
Yeah.
But on a day-to-day basis where trading is concerned, we also try to ensure, as far as the listed companies are concerned, that they make timely disclosures, and that information is made available to investors, because they would then know and have information about the companies that they invest in. For example, do they release financial statements on time? Are the financial statements audited? So there are lots of disclosures that are required to enable investors to make an informed investment decision. So that's a core responsibility of the stock exchange, quite apart from ensuring a fair and orderly market in terms of the rules, and the trading is conducted in an orderly fashion. So
the public notion right now is that black money could be laundered through the Colombo stock market, or even a stock market per se, and make it white money. Is it so?
Well, there are the know your client rules and regulations in place, anti-money laundering laws that are in place, and there is a onus and a responsibility cast on all the stockbrokers when they do take in money to evaluate every customer and to see what money really comes into the market, and also those are vetted through the banking system, because all of this money is anyway routed through banks, and banks have their own KYC or know your client regulations that are applied at the point of opening bank accounts, etc. So all the money that flow into markets flow in through the banking system anyway. So there is a process of vetting and determining the source of funds.
But the process is not effective.
I really can't comment on that, because there is a process in the banking sector, there is a process among stockbrokers, and it's subject to regulatory.
Let's say someone has millions of money stashed in his house. Can he directly invest that money in the Colombo stock market?
He can invest his money not only in the stock market. He can buy insurance policy. He can invest in bank deposits, and he can invest in gold. He can invest in property. So similarly, he can invest in the stock market as well. But there is a process. You need to go to a bank. You need to deposit. Then you need to declare your source from where you got it. So there are forms that are filled. Similarly, even at a stockbroker end, there are forms that you need to fill. You need to indicate your source of funds from where you got that money. So that evaluation and the vetting process does take place at the point the money is accepted.
Rajiv, 2010, 2011, right after the war ended, you said there was an artificial market, there was an artificial boom in the Colombo stock market, which is called a bubble. Right now, the last 1.5 years, do we see similar activity in the Colombo Stock Exchange?
No, there has not been any artificial rise in prices in the last 1.5 years. In fact, after about 2013, we have seen a fairly stable market to that extent. We have not seen a rise to the extent that we saw in 2009 and 10.
You said, Raju, that those who were trading in 2010, 2011, who contributed to the bubble, are still trading in the Colombo stock market. If that is the case, how do you envisage to see changes made in the SEC regulations? Do you think that changes need to be there to stop these people trading in the Colombo Stock Exchange? What is the way forward?
I don't know whether it's right to say whether somebody who traded in 2010 should be prevented
to the bubble. That's what I'm talking about.
So that has to be identified. Everybody who traded in 2010 did not manipulate the market. All those who invested never. Everybody did not manipulate markets.
Some made a lot of money and some lost.
Markets are there to make money. There is nothing wrong in making money from the market, by profiting by a market. It is that if you make it unfairly, illegally, or unlawfully, breaking the laws, breaking the rules, then it's an offense, and then it's up to the regulator to take action against them. But coming into the market, investing in the market, making money in the market, that's what markets are there for, to allow, to permit people to make a profit, to make a return or a capital gain. So merely because you were in that period does not brand you as bad or wrong. I think
just prior to this interview, I met an individual who was very actively involved in the Colombo stock market. I spoke to him and he said that he lost 2 million from the Colombo stock market, and this individual is not even earning around 25,000 to 30,000 bucks a month. He had confidence in the Colombo Stock Exchange at one point, but now he has lost. He says the worst place to invest is the Colombo Stock Exchange.
That's a matter of perception. We need to see why he lost the money. There are 297 stocks. Not all of them are investable at any given point.
He companies says that have 2010, 2011, the bubble, he lost that money, and he will never invest again in the Colombo Stock Exchange. As the CEO of Colombo Stock Exchange, how do you, or what steps would you take to change his notion on the Colombo stock market?
Well, we need to really see how he lost the money, in what stocks he invested, did he make a bad investment, did he buy at the wrong time, etc. So those are factors that one has to go into. But investor confidence is key. It's very important for us, so that we build investor confidence, and you do that through proper regulations, a good legal framework, a fair and equitable environment that people can come and invest in, timely disclosures of corporate information, etc. Having said all that, we still have foreign investors investing, we still have institutional investors investing, we still have about 35,000, 40,000 people investing, and so there is still confidence in the market, and I think confidence is improving as we go on.
What would you like to see the government do to improve Sri Lanka's capital market?
I think there are many things that the government also can contribute. For example, the listing of state-owned enterprises. We need, one challenge that we have in the market is about size and liquidity. We need greater number of companies with a large capital that can come in, that can offer choice to investors. So some of the state-owned enterprises could be brought into the market and listed, and that's something that the government really can do going forward. Then again, a good taxation policy is something that they can, I think they are already working on it. As you said, consistent policy across the board, management of interest rates, management of the currency, etc. So those are the economic factors, the contribution by the government.
The central bank bond controversy that took place last year, did it in any way affect the capital markets?
Not really, no, because there is no direct impact to the market to the extent that there is government bonds are not traded on the market. Yeah.
What about the appointment of the new governor of the central bank? Did it see an upward trajectory as far as the Colombo stock market is concerned? Because you said political, economical, all those factors do.
Yeah, I think it was positive news. It was a very good appointment, we feel, and the market took it quite positively.
Do we have the right thinking? Do we have the right attitude? Do we have the right environment for investors to come in and invest in Sri Lanka right now?
I think yes, we have the systems. We have some good corporates offering good value. We have a network of brokers. They have good systems in place. Risk management practices are in force. We have a payments and settlement system which has worked for the last 30 years. So I think the framework is there, but there's room for improvement, and there are certain improvements that we're thinking of. For example, we're trying to move into what we call a delivery versus payment system from the present system. So to ensure, to minimize the risk of failure of a particular trade. So there are certain infrastructure improvements that we have, that we are engaging in. We need to build in size and liquidity to attract more investors. For example, we need to get larger companies both in the private sector and the state sector, so that you offer more liquid shares and also a choice to investors. And then again, the regulatory framework. You must have a robust regulatory framework, and I think the SEC Act, the new SEC Act, will certainly strengthen the regulatory framework.
When will this Act really come into play, Rajiv?
We are hoping that it will be done during the course of this year. The first draft is already being completed, and we are hopeful that it will be passed in Parliament early next year.
Roger, when it comes to offices that have been established by the Colombo Stock Exchange, you all have 8 offices in 9 of the provinces, minus Eastern Province, in Sri Lanka. Do we get substantial amount of revenue from these offices?
Yeah, at one point they were contributing as much as about 11% of turnover. Now if you take this year, for example, they have contributed about 6% of the total turnover to the market. So I would think quite significant. We are also very careful in going and really encouraging the retail investor, because they need to be properly educated on the risks of the market, on capital gains and losses and possibility of losses. So there's a lot of investor education that happens out there prior to them really coming into the market. So we conduct about 600 or 600 workshops on any given year, targeted at the retail segment of the individual segment.
Is investing money in the Colombo Stock Exchange a lucrative business? Will it give you substantial amount of returns on your investments?
Well, I think as a long-term investment, certainly it has outperformed almost all the other areas of investment that you have available.
Rajiv, I know your job is not to be a marketing executive or sell the Colombo Stock Exchange, but I want to pose a question to you somewhat differently. I have never invested in the Colombo Stock Exchange, never. Why must I invest in the Colombo Stock Exchange?
Simply because you need to beat the inflation. You put it into a bank deposit, your money is really not growing. But if you really want growth and long-term growth, it's a capital market that can offer you the best returns in terms of long-term growth. So when you're investing in a company, you're investing in the growth of that company, and that growth that the company can give you by way of capital gains can be far superior to any other forms of investment.
What I must be concerned of? What must I be concerned of?
A lot of factors. I think you need to look at the company very carefully. You need to look at the management. You need to look at their business. You need to look at the sector that they are in, and you need to know what their future projection and future potential is, and that is only after that you need to really make an investment. So when you're investing in the stock market, not only must you invest your money, but you need to invest some time, where you need to study about your investment prior to investing, unlike any other form of investment.
Will the Colombo Stock Exchange protect my interest and protect that I don't make a loss? Make sure that there's a fair play in the market. Will the Colombo Stock Exchange ensure that?
Yeah, we have been ensuring that we have a fair and orderly market to enable you to come and invest. And that's the reason why we have, for example, a corporate disclosure policy embodied in the listing rules, so that we make it mandatory for companies to make timely disclosures to investors. The key advantage in investing in a listed company as against an unlisted company is that you will know exactly what's going on in a listed company, from their financials to management practices to all of the business practices that are within the company are disclosed. As an investor, you would have all that information coming to you. If you were to invest in an unlisted company, you really wouldn't know, you won't have that amount of information with you. The key advantage would be that you will have all this information and you make an informed investment decision.
Thank you very much, Rajiv, for joining us this evening on BizFirst in Focus, CEO of the Colombo Stock Exchange. We have to put a stop for the trading that we're doing right now, and hope to see you very quickly, probably in the next few months, on how bullish the Colombo Stock Exchange is performing and whether there are any negatives, and we will definitely keep an eye and watch the Colombo Stock Exchange performance. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.